All right, we are ready to add detail to the painting. I had to actually come back the next day because it took a while to upload these videos, but I want you to see my paper plate. See how there's a little bit of paint here? The gray, I could actually touch it and still be wet, and if it's spread out like this, then it dries out. And that's why I was telling you that I like to put just a little bit of paint so then we're not wasting it. So you have already gotten up and done your you've had your cookies and your punch, and now you're ready to add your detail. And if you look at the canvas, it looks pretty good the way it is, but see how we have some streaking? I'm going to show you how to come back in and add some paint to add some detail and also make it look like it has depth and shading. So once again, I would use, and in the beginning, I'm going to have another video to show you how to take care of a paintbrush. You might need to bend these bristles a little bit if they're stiff, just to make sure that they're, that you can use them. And you have your water cup right here. I would go ahead and I'm going to start, make sure this brush is clean. We talked about that earlier. There's the lip of it, dry it off. And I'm going to start with the pumpkin. With the pumpkin, if you would look at something in the center, you want to have these shadow lines right here, and that's where the pencil is. You can actually take a little bit of brown, and this is your plate so you can mix it. You could take brown and mix it with a little bit of orange. So I'm going to set that right there and do a little bit of brown, or you could use gray. And I just mix this little bit. The only thing about mixing, when I tell the students, they can't mix paints that we share, okay, because everybody needs to be able to use it. But another thing you need to be aware of, if you do not mix a bunch up, which I didn't right here, it's hard to match. So you can just go by how it looks and see how that kind of creates a contrast there between both of those. And I get a little bit, I just did on the edge of that orange, mix it around, and I just have the tip of my paintbrush, and I'm just going right around that pencil line. I'm just going over on that pencil line again, and you can go on the top, on the bottom, and that helps, and you can just blend that in. You don't have to just have it be a line. I can have it come a little bit in. I could have some lines come across. I'm not worried about, like I said, having everything covered with this. I just want this as that shading. And then I'm coming back into the next one. You remember when we drew it, we just went a little bit at a time, and that's helping it look more like a pumpkin. And this should be dry, but if it's not, like I said, mine is dry because it's the next day. I've come in on the weekend and I'm trying to get this video finished for you guys. And I'm just going right along that edge. Now I don't have to do it over here on this side because I've already done it. Excuse me. And then I come around and I'm just doing that all the way across. And you will finish doing the outline of your pumpkin. Be aware of where the green is and the blue. If you want to have it come, just like I said, just do some little, see I just have a little bit of paint, and I'm just coming in and doing some streaks through my pumpkin. Now, I showed you before where you can turn your canvas around if you need to. I'm not going to worry about this right now. And the other video that I did for us was 20 minutes, and it was taking my time. And like I said, I would stop it if I needed to, but remember, we're supposed to be out of here by 7, and we're just going all the way around, putting a couple little strokes in to create some shadows here. And I'm almost done with my pumpkin. I'm also going to show you something else that you can do to add. And remember, if you want to make this into a jack-o'-lantern, you can. It's just simple shapes, and you would use your black. I'm not going to create this into a jack-o'-lantern, but you can if you want to. And I've got a little bit of white left over from my, that wasn't covered. I'm going to clean my brush. Now I'm going to show you how to create a lighter color to put in the center of your pumpkin. And to make it lighter, you could add, I would suggest doing yellow. I mean, white will always make a color lighter, but I would not do white because it would be too much of a contrast. And I would bring this in on the center of it, of your pumpkin, okay, to cover over where you want to do a second coat. And I'm going to mix a little bit more yellow, a little bit more orange, mix it around until you get the color you like. And the good thing is if you don't get it all mixed, it's the same color because you've already used this orange. And you're just filling in this area in the center. I've already done on the outside. I'm coming in, filling in. I started with the center, just like how I drew it. I'm going back over and painting these same areas. Okay? So, and then you've filled in your pumpkin. Now we go to the stem. What I want you to think about the same thing. When you're making it darker, I would not use black, I would use brown. When you're making it lighter, I would use yellow. So I'm going to clean my brush again, reshape it. I'm going to take my original color, which was the green. I'm going to set it over here, and I'm going to add a little bit of brown. So add a little bit of brown, mix it. You can always add more, okay? And there's my little bit of brown. And then I'm going to go in, and I'm using this big one because I'm an experienced painter. You can use whatever you want to, though. And I'm just going to do it on this edge here. Now what I want to show you is you can do the same thing. Where your pumpkin would sit on the grass would be darker because it would be blocked. You know, be a shadow. So you want to think about, okay, where would it be darker? And I've drawn, first grade is when I start drawing three-dimensional shapes with your children, and we talk about shadows. We talk about shadows a little bit, but you want to think about, like I said, where would the sun hit, where would the sun not hit, and to see how I'm just bringing in this darker green just on this edge right here. And another thing that you can do, if you want it to make more like grass, look more like grass, then you would bring in little things like this. And you could do that up against your, see here I'm going right up against that line of where the, and look at the brush, see how I'm just kind of taking and dabbing with the brush? And you can go, I know that's a very popular word, dabbing with kids, but first I want to go all the way against that pumpkin, because wherever that pumpkin would sit, it would be darker on that grass. And if you want to make your grass look lighter, you would add some yellow. And you're just going to go in, and if you want to do just the regular green, okay, as it gets further away, and you can still do the dabbing texture, is where I'm just bringing that paintbrush and I'm just doing this kind of tiny little strokes. And I've also talked to the kids before. We do an artist of the month, and Vincent was known for using tiny little brush strokes. Okay, so it's bringing in, now I'm bringing in the regular color. If you want to come back in and mix that green and brown and have some darker areas of your grass over here, it's okay if you're mixing this because it's the same color. Okay, we've talked about analogous in the classroom. We've been talking about the elements of art, and that is also where they are three colors that are side by side on the color wheel, and so they naturally create a harmony. And I'm just going in and I'm doing my second coat, but I'm making it look like a texture. And again, you can go in and do your sides. I'm just trying to make sure that I get all this covered in. I'm probably not going to finish my sides on this just yet. And after that, excuse me, this, you have your sky. Now I kind of like the way my sky looks. You could leave it this way, you could add to it if you want. I also want to show you, you're going to be, I'm not going to do my sky because I want to show you what you can do to bring in a vine. I would clean my brush. Remember, if you want lighter, take the green, add the yellow. You decide if you want to have some lighter grass in there, but I'm not going to do that just yet. So I take my smaller brush, I get it wet, make sure it's clean. Now I'm going to come in, and we talk about, you can come back and draw. This is what I want to try to show you, is where I just have a vine. And we talked about loopy lines, so it's bringing all these things that I've talked about with your students. You can do green, or you can do brown, or you can do a mixture. And I'm getting some green on there, and I have to be careful because this is wet. So I have my hand up like this, and I'm just going to do a curly line. And I have to get a little bit more paint, and I'm going over what might be a little wet, so you have to be careful. There we go. And when you do a leaf, it kind of looks like a heart. So you want to just do a tiny little thing where it looks like a little miniature heart. And there's your vine going that way. You could have a leaf coming up this way and just do a little bit. And then, like I said, you can come back in and fix your sky, which I'm going to try to do. And I didn't go into my sky area because I want to be able to paint it. So I just did that vine. You can do your vine wherever you want. Now, let me clean this brush real quick, and then I'm going to go in and finish this. That way the video is pretty much can be stopped. When you do your jack-o'-lantern, if you want to do your jack-o'-lantern, the most important part is you have to make sure this is dry. You would use black. So I'm going to set this over here for just a second. And when you draw it, use your artist eyes. If you want to take your pencil and draw lightly on your canvas, you can. You could just draw the same pumpkin that we did. Just going to have it on here on my paper. And you want to think about placement. You know, you could start with the nose first, which is just a triangle. You choose what you want. We talk about light till you get it right. You could have oval eyes, okay? If you don't like oval eyes, typically a jack-o'-lantern is triangles, but this is up to you. This is your picture, and you don't have to make it into a jack-o'-lantern. And then you have your triangles, and you would just outline this black, and then maybe put a little dot black, but you're going to have a very small brush, or you're going to have to use the tip of your round. And then the same thing, you could just do, you know, you could draw this on there first, put your teeth, but like I said, I'm not going to change mine into a jack-o'-lantern. I like the way the pumpkin looks. So the next step with this, I could go back in and add the lighter to the stem if I wanted to. When I do my sky, I would go back to my flat brush, and I want to show you the same thing. I had brush strokes going down this way, which we call up and down, which is vertical. Now I'm going to bring my brush strokes going in horizontal, and I would just be going all the way across. Make sure you don't leave clumps of paint. Turn this around if that helps you. Okay? It does look better like that, but like I said, you decide, you know, what you want to put in your picture, how many pumpkins you want. Now this is the hard part, is because I've already done this green, so I have to be careful. You need to think about, I'm not left-handed, but I'm switching here so I can get over to this side. I'm going to turn my canvas around. That would be a better choice. And go right up against this. Now you've already outlined it, and that is where it'll be darker, so you don't necessarily have to outline it first. That's why I went ahead and started in. And I'm not even touching that pumpkin. I'm just going pretty close to it because it tends to be darker where you've done your outline. And then I'm just filling this in by using the brush strokes going the opposite direction. And that will be your cookies and canvas for today. Thank you for coming out. I will hopefully have been walking around, getting to talk with everybody. And I will be doing another cookies and canvas in February, and I'll have more information for that for you to come. But like I said, thank you again for coming tonight. Please make sure that you leave your brushes clean. You clean up after your when you've had your cookies, and leave your area clean, and take your canvas. Hopefully you have taken some pictures. I'm going to be coming around taking some pictures with you and your canvas, and I'm almost done painting my pumpkin. Like I said, you can turn it into a jack-o'-lantern if you choose, paint on the edges if you want. If you want to come in and sign it, I've also talked about that. You have to be careful though that you don't ruin your picture. I would, meaning if you write your name or you misspell it or you make it really big. I'm going to clean my paintbrush, be careful that I'm not splattering everywhere. Then I will sign my signature after this is dry. And I think that's it. You can go back in and add some more green. You know, there's all kinds of things. I'm just trying to make sure that I cover all this in one video. Oops, that would be the wrong color.